I don't have a good answer for that, ultimately. TSM are being very inconsistent. It's kind of been the thing of the North American LCS all split long, is teams being incredibly inconsistent. Krepo can attest, you guys were amazing at the very end of the year and had a really slow start. Dignitas had the inverse going on.
We were really amazing at the end of the year.
You guys were awesome. It just wasn't enough to actually close the games, or to get into the playoffs. But TSM the same way, right? These guys sometimes do really well and sometimes do really poorly. And I don't know which TSM's going to show up, though I kind of expect the latter.
Yeah, now let's talk about the mid lane yesterday. Bjergsen got a lot of love from Amazing's help against SK, and then Amazing has little to no impact later in the day. Probably, as a mid laner, is that Bjergsen calling for it? Is that the team saying let's punish Jezzes? Why was Amazing toasting s'mores?
I think it's more of like Bjergsen and Amazing both just agree on the early game meta. They know that they can get a big lead mid playing the way they do, and they go for that because they know how to transition that. When Bjergsen gets big, they know how to play with that kind of lead. It's not like they get big and then they don't know how to snowball a game with it.
Now, on the other side of the rift, we haven't talked too much about TPA. They're doing pretty well for themselves, had a very strong showing. Game 1 of the day, despite scrappy back and forth with SK, they won it well. Monty, care to comment on Taipei Assassins?
I mean, they have looked good in the early game to a certain degree, and a lot of that has been kind of with Wins' help. But I think he's very dependent on a Lee Sin pick. His Kazakhs just wasn't quite as impressive. I do think that they're going to have a little bit more power in the early game, just because for me this is kind of Wins is the better jungler between Wins and Amazing, and so I'm going to be very curious to see how well Amazing can do if they want to try and beat up on Morning in the same way that they did on Jezzes.
One thing I want to throw to Krepo in terms of TPA and how they struggle to end games. From their region, they've got the longest average game time in terms of playing. TSM in the States has got the shortest average game time. In this World Championship, TPA has got the longest game time, breaking over 50 minutes. They don't really know what to do late game. We saw that yesterday. It was better today, but what's your take?
Yeah, I mean, game times aren't always the best indicator, but it did show when TPA was so far ahead. They just had no idea how to close it out. They had a good notion, yes, they went for Baron plays, but they didn't know how to exactly do it and have perfect execution. They didn't incorporate mid lane pushing first, disappearing into the jungle, and then going for the Baron vision. They just had this notion of, hey, let's get Baron vision, and it just wasn't enough. And I think TSM strategically will be better in the mid game.
Well, we will find out. Before we send it to the casters, I want to grab all of your predictions on who you think is going to win. I think this one is a little more split than some of the previous matches. I want to start with Monty. TSM or Taipei Assassins?
Yeah, I think TSM's going to take this one. In spite, I mean, I do think there's some certain favorable matchups. I think BB's a little bit ahead of Wild Turtle, but
I think the lane is gonna be equal at best, though.
Okay, all right, man. Anyway, but I do think TSM is going to pull it out here in the end. I just like their odds better. When they have that lead, if they can get it, they have shown just to be a little bit more decisive at closing it out.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. Prolly, are you believing in Apple Pie as well, or do you think Taipei Assassins have got this one?
Dude, I'm Apple Pie all the way. I'm not betraying my country. I'm going with TSM.
TSM it is. All right, Freak, you're the man I actually want to talk to next. Who's going to pick up the win here?
I'm going to go against you guys. I am sorry, but I think it is Taipei Assassins here. I do not believe in Apple Pie. I thought TSM was going to be the number 2 team coming out of the groups at the beginning, but after seeing TPA and TSM play, I think Taipei Assassins are the better team all around here.
Are we splitting this 2-2? Krepo, you're the final voice.
No, we're not, actually. After today's matches, especially TPA doesn't seem that much farther ahead of TSM at all, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the bot lane matchup. So yeah, I'm going for TSM obviously, because I felt like PB&J were not exploiting their favorable matchup as much, and TSM's weakest point earlier was being actually just exploited in that bottom lane matchup. So I do think Bjergsen will just put on a show, and I think that's where the victory is going to come from.
Well, we'll see if that is the case. Let's pull a fan vote up over from lolesports.com, where 72% of you are calling this match in favor of Team Solo Mid. So that's going to do it for us. Let's send it over to the caster desk for Game 5 as we go. TSM say their time in Korea has been beneficial for their game, but it's also given them an opportunity to take in the local culture.
I think being in Korea was pretty cool. It's my first time in pretty much any Asian country. I think the bootcamp was pretty successful.
It was very beneficial. It allowed us to see how good Korean solo queue is, the NA solo queue is.
We were able to scrim every top Korean team, and in the grand picture we became better as a team, and that's important.
I think it really changes the team, and it really defines how a team is going to do at Worlds.
It was nice to have Laspo and Loco around, because both of them know the Korean scene pretty well, like from eating to basic places to be or people to meet, whatever it is.
Honestly, we went to McDonald's like 3 times, and then everywhere else I just ate chicken katsu and had some kimchi.
I have fallen for kimchi every day as a snack, or like a side dish. I always ate kimchi every day, every hour basically.
I really enjoyed being there. Enjoyed the food, the solo queue, the people. I think it was a good time.
Oh, while TSM was enjoying everything, now it's back to game time, obviously, for everyone. So let's get right into it. On the blue side, it's North America's LCS Summer Champions, Team Solo Mid. That means it's Dyrus in the top lane, Amazing in the jungle, Bjergsen in mid, Wild Turtle at AD carry, and Lost Boy on support.
And on the red side, it's the GPL's Taipei Assassin with Archie in the top lane, Wins as the jungler, Morning as the mid laner, and BB on AD carry, and of course Jay is his support.
That's right, and for this game, the bottom lane will be getting a bit of a closer look with our featured matchup, Wild Turtle versus BB.
I mean, we've been talking a lot about this. Wild Turtle has not looked good in this tournament. It also comes down to the champion picks. BB's Lucian has been really good Deficio.
Yeah, and we were just talking before here, should Lucian be banned against BB? Because he's been so dominant together with Jay. They've been playing Lucian and Janna both the games so far. And he's the captain, he's the shot caller. Yep. Why don't you just focus on bans on him?
Exactly. I mean, it's totally different story here as far as what these guys contribute to team's overall strategy. Wild Turtle is someone who basically needs to be brought out on a bit of a leash sometimes. Lost Boy does dictate a lot of what he does. He is all about farming and his individual mechanics, whereas BB has a lot more on his plate.
Right. I do feel like, though, in team fights, they do have somewhat the same mentality of they actually like to be in the front, and we can see some aggressive moves, and sometimes it can backfire, but we've also seen some beautiful plays.
Of any AD carry in North America, it does seem like Wild Turtle's one of the most likely to dash in for the enemy AD carry, and that's all we've seen BB do so far here, so I can't wait until they dash through each other and end up just killing each other.
Well, he has had like 3 different teachers this year, so he's kind of going through a phase where Lost Boy's being able to rein him in lately, so maybe Turtle can do it this time.
Though, looking at just picks and bans, now we just talked about Lucian potential ban from TSM. I wouldn't actually be surprised to see TSM invest a lot into Wild Turtle and try and ban the Lucian first pick, maybe Tristana, and run this Protect the AD carry comp. At the same time, you could get Amazing on a Nuno if you ban Lee Sin against Wins.
Right, they have a chance to do a Protect the AD carry comp, especially with TPA's inability to close out games, but I also think they have an opportunity to get some of their powerful picks, right? They have the potential to first pick a Rise, maybe get a Zed through with Zillion being banned out, or maybe even get an Alistair again. It really depends on what TPA decides to ban here as the red side team.
Well, last year, Wild Turtle did step up at Worlds, but this time it's been a little bit lackluster for him. A protected comp might be kind of scary for them, a bit of a liability, but we will see. And as we were speaking, guys, they're going to have to do it almost every time, that Nidalee ban.
It does say a lot about Nidalee and TSM, and clearly Dyrus doesn't play it in the top lane. If you have to ban it right here against actually a top laner who didn't play Nidalee all season long, and it was never banned against TPA before now.
TSM bans Zillion as well. This is actually, in my opinion, a really bad omen for TSM as they continue throughout this. They also banned Zillion 7 times in the North American playoffs. So they banned Nidalee every game. They may have to ban Zillion every game against teams that play Zillion. And if you put them on the red side, they'd also have to ban probably an Alistair, which means they give up a lot of stuff to teams when they're on the red side. That's not good for them in the long run.
No, it could be Maokai they would give up every single time. And if you don't have a split pusher to play against it, suddenly it becomes very, very hard here. Syndra ban against Morning. He played it twice already, but I'm actually not been too impressed by his Syndra, so far at least.
Me neither, and especially for Bjergsen, his Syndra is devastating. We knew Lee Sin was going to be a priority pick as well. They end up securing that, but at what cost?
Yeah, so again, my Nuno jungle Protect AD carry didn't work yet. I mean, Tristana is open, Lucian is open for BB if you want to do on the side of TPA. Again, their Janna pick, which we have seen a few times from Jay. I feel like TSM, by first picking Lee Sin, we don't actually see it too often, but it's really showing that they want Amazing to be able to carry in the early game. Against Royal Club, his performance on Elise compared to Inseg on Rengar, that was miles apart.
Right. I think it's also very heavily targeted at Wins.
Of course, you
want to mention on the desk,
it'll
it'll force him onto Kha'Zix where he looked a little lackluster. But honestly, I wonder about this pick ban phase from TSM in general. We got to talk about Lulu instead.
Yeah, so Lulu, I mean, Lulu's always going to be a flex pick. You can go support Lulu mid lane, top lane here. Already from the start though, TPA is doing what I expected TSM to do, protect the AD carry. First pick come in with the Lulu, we have to Tristana. BB loves to be the late game hyper carry. Perfect setup already.
Keep your shot caller happy, and the good things are going to come to you. Just looking out for Team Solo Mid here. More Janna to possibly be paid. Lust Boy could be locking that in with a Kog'Maw for the bottom lane here at Team Solo Mid.
So if they do lock in Janna here, we have to consider the fact that if it's a full protect AD carry comp from TPA, then they won't run with any hard engage.
Right.
And then the Janna suddenly doesn't really do anything because of their...
Yeah.
Like, you don't need this
That's
disengage.
a really dangerous pick right
Exactly. It's a very risky pick already. Or coming
TPA
in...
can absolutely build this around them if they want to. They could still pick the Nami, they could do the Nunu, they could even pick Orianna in the mid lane. They could put the whole thing together right here if they wanted to.
Right. Could also simply just pick Janna here to make sure TPA doesn't actually lock it in, and they wouldn't be able to get their possible best disengage support here.
Win, so locking in that Rengar. 2-0 on it.
Exactly.
Does have some plays.
Not super experienced. TPA doesn't have too many games to pull from either. They didn't play nearly as much as some of the other regions in their regular season and playoffs.
That's true.
TSM has not fared well against Rengar so far. Insect did a number on them earlier.
So I really, really like Xerath here from Bjergsen if he does lock it in. It's something we've seen over in the EU LCS where Alliance like to do it with Froggen. If you're against this like passive backline comp where you have like the Lulu, the Orianna, and then a hyper carry, so you know they're all going to be staying in the backline, and there's, except for the Rengar in this case, not any other engaged. You can pick Xerath and you can just poke and you can poke and you can poke forever, and there's never a chance for TPA to engage. Now they do have the Rengar locked in, of course, and that's where the Janna pick will then pay off for TSM. So the risk they took by picking it early pays off for them here. They do now have to disengage against Rengar.
They have to disengage, and they potentially have an answer to the protected carry. There's two ways you can go against the hyper carries. You pick ridiculous dive to try and get on top of him, but against the really good protected carries, sometimes it doesn't work out. This one, if they end up finishing off with the Rumble in Xerath, which they do,
okay.
Whoa.
I'll finish first. It means they have enough long-range siege to still get to him,
yes,
even if they're not actually next to him because of their range. Leona, go.
On the other side, though, TPA, yeah, they don't want to risk being in a situation where they only have one engage tool, which will be the Rengar, where then Lost Boy is just going to ult, he's gone, engage is gone, and it's all about the poke now from Bjergsen. That's not going to happen because Leona's been locked in, so TPA is securing enough engage here, especially Leona is great at engaging onto someone like a Janna here when it comes to team fights. Not in the laning phase, because Janna can always interrupt her when she tries to E onto her and make it very hard to lane.
I think this pick and ban phase was extraordinarily interesting because it seemed like TPA was going to go for the disengage comp. When they realized they were going to get out-sieged, they had to switch in that last pick, and it still works because they have a bunch of people that can hop on now when they add Leona with the Rengar.
And this would be one of the first times we see Team Solo Mid kind of not just locking in a team that they wanted. A lot of thought went into this one, so they're adapting to what they saw. It's going to be an amazing game. As usual, we're at Worlds. This one's about to go live, so send in your votes for who you think will win. Tweet hashtag TSM win or TPA win to @LOL Esports.
Man, I really enjoyed this pick and ban phase here. There was just counter picks left and right, and if Lost Boy didn't log into Janna, I do wonder if TPA wanted to pick it up for Jay. Already played it twice. True. Could have gone like full protect the hyper carry, even log in someone like a Nunu jungle here.
And picking Leona into Janna is really dangerous.
Laning phase, it's very hard.
So just pick Janna into Leona because you can use your tornado on Leona's engage. It's really just for team fights. The lane itself is trouble.
And we are off. Team Solo Mid versus TPA here. Game 5 on the day. Let's see what these teams have for each other. We do have that Lulu coming in for Achi in the top lane. Like we said, protect the AD carry for TPA. That long-range siege and poke coming in from Team Solo Mid. Have not seen Dyrus on that Rumble in quite some time. Last seen on it wasn't really comfortable for him. So we'll see how he's grown into that now.
And this is definitely not a protected AD carry comp any longer because now it's going to be, okay, where's my Rengar, where's my Leona? I'm going to put my ball from Orianna onto this guy, and I can shockwave. We have the wild growth as well. Like, suddenly there's so much engaged potential from TPA, and it's going to be all about the positioning from TSM, and also the way Lost Boy can use this ult, and the way Dyrus can use this ult, because once the Leona and Rengar jumps in, if you manage to put the ult behind them, then suddenly you can zone away both the Lulu, the Tristana, and the Orianna at the same time.
I really also have to wonder how the synergy between Bjergsen and Dyrus is going to be. I remember a nice moment from the playoffs where Dyrus was on Ryze and Bjergsen was on Xerath, and he would rune prison him, just kind of hold the guy down so Bjergsen could punch him a bunch of times. They don't necessarily have that synergy now, so his ultimates will be substantially more jukeable. However, they're adding even another element of long-range siege with Wild Turtle's ultimate on top of all this. It is going to be really hard for BB to actually stand in place and try and fire off because he will be outranged despite being at level 18 like the longest ranged carry.
A plethora of skill shots raining down from the sky as we get to the mid game, but who's going to make it there as the stronger team? Team Solo Mid loves to have a strong laning phase, grab that first dragon and make things go from there.
And we also we just talked about the comms here. We have to point out the fact, if you look at all the carries from TSM, immobile targets, no jumps. You're against the Leona, you're against the Rengar here. It opens up for TPA to get the engagement they want. We're just going to have to see what is going to happen in these potential fights.
So we mentioned that picking Leona into Janna is dangerous, and we can see TPA ends up lane swapping this out. This is hugely beneficial for TSM. They have not been able to win 2v2 lanes. We've been looking a lot at Lustboy's rune pages and the way he plays. He always plays really defensively, rune page-wise, in lanes, and this is better than what they could have hoped for, being able to get a 2v1 farm lane while still having Dragon support in this matchup.
Yeah, the only problem is going to be Dyrus, because with Rumble, it's a lot about your mid-game power spike where you go back, you get your haunting guys, maybe in the Leandris before the Dragon fights really start breaking out, you have your ulti, that will be delayed.
I actually think all the way back to when Rumble was super popular and they did a nerf on him. His Electro Harpoon lost 10 damage at rank 1. And what that actually did is it made it so he couldn't last hit the caster minions with it in between waves. So as far as if he were to sit in a 2v1 and let the waves hit the turret, he wouldn't be able to CS nearly as well. Rumble is actually weak in 1v2 lanes because of that change, which is why they're double jungling.
Yeah, and also because the top lane is being frozen right now. So BB up in his top lane, what you do in Tristana, of course, if you want to freeze the lane, you simply don't put any skills into your E. You just sit there, you don't want to have explosive shots, you don't want to push the lane by last hitting. And for now, 4 members from TPA in the top lane, TSM responding with 4 in the bottom lane.
Yeah, TPA is no stranger to lane swaps. They actually had a really good answer to Starhorn Royal Club's fast push early on, and at this point, TSM has actually decided to push a little bit, but it's not exactly a fast push. I wonder how quickly they'll kill this turret and whether or not they're going to let BB get as much farm as he wants, because that's the ultimate goal here for TPA, is to get BB as farm as possible.
Well, they're getting what they can out of the jungle, that's for sure. Trying to shut it down, but as we see the 2v1s, your jungle kind of becomes the top and other side of your opponent's jungle. So they're rightfully so in the spot.
Oh, man.
Bjergsen finding some love in the mid lane. A great hit on that, but they're not able to follow up with more slow. Morning, just kind of hanging out on the backside. They know it's intense.
Speaking of backside,
what in the world? Team Solo Mid coming out of the woodwork here, and it's not going to happen for them. A great readjustment by TPA.
But this was simply all 4 members from TSM being down the bottom side of the map, and they noticed the gank in the mid lane. Instantly, they ran from the bottom side into mid lane here. Forced the flash as well. Only heal was used by Bjergsen.
And an interesting move there by Wins. When you're going to do an early gank like that, and when they can prep it out of the jungle, especially since they were jungle buddying, the fact that he didn't come out of there with full ferocity for an empowered Bola is a little bit disappointing as far as his Rengar play is concerned.
Bjergsen, like you said, only blowing that heal, the flash on Morning, so they may be able to make a return trip onto that. Lustboy and Turtle having a much different lane here on the bottom side. Now as we match up 2v2. See BB up on the top side, and he's going to be getting some solo farm for himself. Dyrus will not be able to give him too much trouble. So the game pans out pretty much nobody's favor so far, but the vision's been placed down very well. The Dragon not had by TSM early.
And one of the strong points about Lulu, now we've been talking about Rumble, of course, in a lane swap, is Lulu is not there. I mean, she doesn't really require a lot of items. You can fall behind and still be very useful because you bring so much utility in these team fights here. And because, of course, you have some range, you could pick up some farm in the lane here. So Archie back in this top lane. Darius slightly ahead in CS.
The lane swap was definitely short-lived. I'd say once the Leona hits level 6, she has a better chance against the Janna lane, right? So they've withstood a lot of that interesting part here, and especially if Wins can get going too, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, if Rengar runs, I mean, you can even just run from the lane and then set up, land a stun onto Janna, and you can just lock her down, kill her before she can even do anything.
Looks like they have quite a composition. Wins coming in on the backside. If Jay can get there early and blow the Monsoon, he's free to jump. So it's got to be perfectly timed by Lustboy on that. And then he's got to hit the exhaust. It looks quite hard, but they can definitely put it onto paper.
That's a really important pink ward kill right there. while Wins is up in the top lane trying to set up a gank. If Dyrus can withstand this right here and not give up a kill, it's going to be very good for Amazing and TSM. But he gets in without being interrupted by the tornado.
One of the lockdowns onto Turtle. We talked about having not that many escapes. Lost Boy can only provide a bit to disengage. Dyrus doesn't know that Wins is in the brush. Control from TPA here to the top lane, but Amazing in the back pocket. He gets the cripple down. He's able to lock it. It's Archie going down for first blood, and they could get Wins here. Flame Spitter out, but they're gonna back off.
Just a beautiful turnaround right there. Again, Wins is pretty ineffective on Rengar, not even locking Dyrus down, and he turns around with that rank 3 Flame Spitter and just decimates TPA's gank there.
And we normally don't see a Rengar ganking before level 6 here, and Wins, he's paying the price. Lee Sin is so much stronger before level 6. Instant as Amazing shows himself, they turn it around and they pick up the kill.
And I feel like Amazing, this is kind of what TSM wanted him to do all year, and we've only seen this from him recently. Back to the kicks, back into making the right plays. We just saw him take down that pink ward, and he was around Wraiths. He's like, you know, I don't see Wins, my bottom lane is pushed. I'm gonna see what's happening top lane.
And just think back to yesterday's game. Insec was playing with Amazing. Like, he was just everywhere on the map, and Amazing could never respond in time. Now the first pick Lee Sin. So that's a lot of priority from TSM onto this one pick here. It paid off in the start.
The start of this game has been a completely different story, and TSM is actually a team throughout the regular season in North America I found either loses slowly or wins slowly. That's been completely different here at Worlds. They've won a complete stomp and lost by getting stomped pretty hard. The way this one has started with an early edge is great for them, since their early games have been the most tumultuous at Worlds.
We'll see what kind of play they can continue. Every lane's kind of even going out through here. Amazing was the one to get that kill, really just giving Dyrus the haunting guys, and Achi's gonna go for double rings in that lane. Good hits onto BB, making him dodge, keeping him off the CS as much as possible, but he's able to keep it quite even.
Well, Turtle got his level 6 here, so it's gonna be so annoying for TPA down his bottom lane. As long as Lost Boy is ready with the Hurricane, Jay won't be able to engage, and it's all about the long-range poke then coming in for Wild Turtle onto BB, trying to get him as low as possible, possibly set up a gank from Amazing, and then you can go for Dragon after. And talking about Amazing.
Trying to make more moves. He's gonna go ahead and just prep this one out. Simple play here as he goes back towards the top side. Gonna try to get some deep warding in on the side of TPA. Amazing is. And Dyrus keeps this one top pushed. 6 now for Wins. This could be big.
And notice the deep wards here from TSM. They know Wins up in his top lane. They've learned from yesterday where Insect was just running through the lane, kept ganking Dyrus over and over. So good deep wards here by TSM. They know he's up in his top lane. All Dyrus has to do right now is just stay alive.
And it's creating opportunity all over the map for TSM right here. You can see Amazing already stealing the Wolves. Dyrus is going to try and play with him as long as possible to keep him interested. TSM could actually do whatever they want right now, considering Bjergsen has control of mid lane as well.
And this is Dyrus, much better than yesterday. We saw this happen with Rise, and he was taken by surprise. Not this one.
It's all about the wards. All about the wards here, and also smart play by TSM, learning from yesterday's loss. Amazing once again down his bottom lane.
He knows that's warded, so he's going to try delayed entrance right here. It's almost impossible to gank for John.
Oh,
but he lands it!
Oh, what a flash coming out. Beautiful job by BB, but also a great attempt by Amazing.
That's actually something we talked about a lot when we're watching people play against Lee Sin thus far at Worlds, is a surprisingly low number of people were flashing the Lee Sin kicks. BB, watching the games, experiences Worlds, flashes at the right time to save his life.
And so far, Wins on this Rengar. One gank in the top lane, where he ended up dying. Second gank.
Warded.
Spotted, warded. Amazing, been forcing flashes. Got a kill as well here. So let's see what TSM wants to do. We're gonna see actually the same build for Wins, as we saw Insect do, and also as we saw Clearlove do earlier, with the mobility boots as his first item.
Yeah, it's good for mobility, but without his ultimate up right now, I'm not sure where he's gonna go. If I'm TSM right now, I try and force toward Dragon as quickly as possible. Having Rumble and Xerath in this Dragon fight against, what is it, a double Doran's Ring Lulu if you're comparing top laners, or even just jungle effectiveness, especially if Amazing can complete that Lizard Elder, which he will on his next back, would be a complete wash in TSM's favor.
And also just remember, BB on Tristana here is fairly weak in the mid game, which we're coming towards now. I mean, the problem for Tristana is, once you get like a pickaxe or BF sword, it doesn't benefit your abilities. I mean, it's all about your auto attacks here, so you don't benefit as much from these items. While Turtle doesn't have a Trinity Force yet, and it seems like TPA is actually setting up for this Dragon themselves.
That's a big value pink ward right there. TSM needs to be able to protect these. Over Amazing's taking his sweet time coming out of base, actually. And they've lost a little bit of control over Dragon here. They have the teleport threat up from top laners and a 2-level advantage in the top lane. So if they can get that level advantage to pay off in the Dragon fight, it's what they need. TPA actually wants to avoid that situation as much as possible.
TSM not a team to really give up that first Dragon. You can see Amazing hovering down towards that bottom side. Teleports are up on both sides. Dyrus is going to be bringing a lot more damage to that fight if it happens.
And we have seen before with TPA, they like to play some pink wards, but we also see them just leave them. They want to defend this one.
Very scary for Amazing. Just gets himself out to a safeguard, almost stunned up. Morning keeps himself going strong on this one. They're trying to pull the team in for a little bit more, but it's all staved off by the bottom rotation here. Nobody can get in.
Wins is trying to find Amazing. It's a matter of how far he runs away. Overall, though, that was just really lazy play by TSM more than anything. Not having your mid laners back up when the jungler is MIA and you know there's a pink ward there because their previous wards have been burned out is just begging for a counterattack. Great move there by TPA.
Yeah, and while we were talking about TSM potentially setting up for the Dragon here with the Rombo,
teleporting in.
Suddenly
Stopped
TPA
by
will get
Hachi.
it. Instantly stop. Let's see what's going to happen. Bjergsen's the only guy here. And Amazing joining in.
With the ultimate, wins very low. Bjergsen's going to find the ultimate kill.
Well,
turned around in the top lane. The polymorph was down. Dyrus was able to go full damage even after the wild growth was used through Hachi. And what a
double
play
kill in
going
the bottom lane as well.
What?
Oh my god.
Still going on the morning. He gets the sombrero to work on Amazing, but it's one quick shot from Bjergsen. They are really heating things up.
Challenge to production, we need about 3 replays right there because TSM did absolutely everything at once. Top lane, mid lane, bottom lane, Dragon, everything won. Now it's 6-0 and a 5,000 goal lead in an instant.
Absolutely amazing. And I was just going to say amazing. We saw him go back. As soon as everybody gets back onto the Rift, they just take down TPA across the map. Great wards come in still, so they know exactly where Wins is. He is not having a fun time.
And what we just saw the Dragon here is actually a thing a lot of teams seem to forget, because we see these early Dragons where people are dancing around the aggro and you don't actually take them. Let's just see the replay.
We're going to try and recreate what happened here. So obviously he teleported, or he flashed to stop the teleport, but that just made him walk into the level advantage. That was Dyrus.
Great
so
equalizer.
Dyrus pulled that off. Now we get the bottom lane. Deficio take this one.
Well, there's not a lot to say, actually. The fight is already over here. Lost by, I just saw it on my other screen before here. He managed to actually flash behind PP and ult him backwards, and then we got all the damage in from Wild Turtle. And mid lane, of course, Amazing just going straight for Morning.
It was a good effort by Morning, but he actually shockwaved too early, so he didn't trap Amazing in turret aggro, and it set up an easy kill. Like, across the board, it was just mechanical outplays by TSM, but it happened all at once. And what seems to always happen in these big moment TSM games is they're close, and immediately have a 5,000 or 6,000 gold lead.
And again, we talked about this mid-game being in favor of TSM. We just saw it in every single lane. They were so strong. Dyrus, as soon as he saw an opening, he would go for the kill. Down bottom lane as well, the 2v2 fight. We keep talking about how Lost by and Wild Turtle have been poor. Amazing though, you're in trouble.
That's going to be a problem. Dyrus getting himself into a sticky situation. Wins just got up. Will he go down? He gets the shield and he will stay alive. Dyrus throws down the scrap shield and he gets the movement speed necessary. A quick dodge on the Zenith Blade. He's trying to get away, but the sun way too hot as Jay helps to pick up that kill.
Suddenly TPA's not back in the game yet, but they're definitely not done.
Well, they moved their entire team down, and with that came strength. But TSM still has this split push going. Wild Turtle does have a Trinity Force completed to pretty much just a pickaxe of BB. It's a nice start on the way back, but looking up at that scoreboard, there's still a while to climb.
See what they can continue to do after this. Watching Amazing and Wins throughout this game. Definitely some people, or the players we have to keep our eyes on as they are making things happen. See where they go from this. Lost Boy and Turtle trying to set up a bushwhack in the bottom lane, but it looks like they're only going to get farm out of it. Things starting to slow down now a little.
Bjergsen's Xerath is so good. Whenever he played it in the North American playoffs, he would absolutely destroy people with it.
And TSM at the moment here, going in towards this mid lane, they were actually pushing all the lanes at once, but then I mean, it is a bit risky, especially against the Rengar and a Leon who can roam around to set up these picks. So TSM for now, grouping up. They know they are a lot stronger here against Trinity Force to Wild Turtle. No Infinity Edge yet for BB. He's gonna need it before he can start doing some proper damage. So TSM using the Xerath to start sieging.
This is going to be so huge for TSM as well, because we look at the greater context of the group. this is effectively the halfway point. Everyone will have played each other once. At this point, it's Starhorn at the top, SK at the bottom, and TSM and TPA are tied. If they win this game, they're putting themselves in pole position for making it out of this group.
Both teams 1-1 right now, really looking to get that too. It's going to be difficult. TPA will not give up that easy either.
So down this bottom lane, TPA is actually getting to push it all alone because all the deep wards in the jungle of TPA we just saw before here actually meant that Wild Turtle spotted the winds coming, so he just had to back away from the tower. Otherwise, TPA was setting up for dives, and if they managed to kill Wild Turtle, they might have been able to push 2 towers here. So very good deep wards, and all these pink wards in the jungle, they need to be cleared by TPA.
Yeah, they better get 2 of that, because if they don't, TSM will make it back to that spot and be able to set up aggressive plays with that. Teams need to move their pink wards with their levels of aggression. If we actually flip the tables over to TPA, that's one of the big reasons they've had trouble closing games, is they don't necessarily move their wards with them in offensive positions. TSM only has offensive wards right now, which is one of the big reasons that push came in so easily from TPA.
And we see Winds walking by all of these pink wards. They have been there for so long. These things have paid for themselves over and over again here, and they still haven't even been cleared.
Finally, they found one of them. There's still 2 more left. I mean, they have full vision of Winds for the last 2 minutes. They saw the gang down his bottom lane.
There we go.
No. Really?
That sucks.
I mean, fair enough. He's once again going down to his bottom lane, and Wild Turtle, he saw him move down.
Oh my god.
Okay, come on. What is he looking at?
I think we're getting trolled now. Nope. He's looking for more. Also looking at BB.
He is so focused on the rest of the map right now, it must be.
Yeah, possibly.
I mean, we do see this sometimes. I remember when the whole pink ward thing came out and people were just always looking elsewhere and never spotting the small bushes.
So there are spots in some brushes where if it goes through a piece of terrain, since wards see in straight lines, that you can't end up seeing the ward when you walk by. The fact that the rest of his team didn't mention that either is very weird. Peculiar to me.
Oh, got that warning symbol. They want Amazing, the playmaker right now, really helping out the team. Dyers could throw down a red carpet. It's right across them. Jay gets locked up pretty hard, but the damage really is not following through just yet. BB hops over the wall looking for a reset to get back to safety, or with help from the rest of the team, they are backing off. A lot of ultimates are still up if the fight continues.
But risky and a little bit sloppy play by TSM here. They had the time on the Dragon. They were staying around. But Wild Turtle, he was still stuck in the bottom lane. He didn't move in time. BB was still alive here. But Wild Turtle, he was just sitting and farming the bottom lane. Opened up for TPA to get the engage and actually trade 1-for-1. They should still lose the Dragon, however.
Yeah, they got the pink ward control at least at the blue buff. That's one thing. It makes it even more surprising that they got ambushed a little bit right there. Amazing. In exactly the same spot that he nearly died last time, ends up getting caught. I think Morning got that one actually on Orianna.
Yes, he did. Very nicely done.
Dragon is still alive.
This could be a definite contest here. They don't have the ultimate though.
So there's no ulti and lost by here. The main disengage for TSM, and this ward is still alive. And Amazing tried to get behind Morning here, couldn't actually do it, and therefore ended up just wasting his ulti. So Tools is gone.
Amazing, consistently trying to make plays, helping out the team quite a bit. Looks like everybody's gonna back off for now. Dragon still alive, 20 minutes into this one, still the 5,000 gold lead from TSM, but TPA is giving them something to think about here as we approach these objectives.
Yeah, this one is still in TSM's favor, but you can tell they're a little bit gun shy. That is one thing that comes with picking the Janet composition, is it's somewhat counter-engage focused. It does take a little time to develop, and they need to set up their siege from Rumble and Xerath in the right spots, but they have pretty good vision control. They should go for Dragon shortly.
Yeah, it's going to be all about the vision control, because as you just said, you need TPA to engage onto you, unless Amazing can manage to get a kick. But he has no flash at the moment, and his ult is still on cooldown, so he won't really be able to start the fight. And therefore TPA, they have enough wards around here, they can start it, and it seems like also TSM can start it. It seems like TPA don't really want to challenge. You don't want to walk into something like a Rumble and a Xerath.
Really great item spikes for Team Solo Mid right now, really allowing them to get easy dragons like that uncontested. BB, usually you'll see at least the BF sword in the static shift finish, but he's had to go for the pickaxe and the critical cloak so far. Still being able to put out a bit of damage, but little bit less than Wild Turtle now combined with that Living Artillery ultimate. Picking up blue on the side of Team Solo Mid as they regroup and get ready to go back.
They moved the pink ward, actually. They placed another one, so they killed itself.
Well,
victory.
Someone had to kill it. They got a lot of value. I mean, they avoided 2 ganks in the bottom lane onto Wild Turtle, so he could actually stay safe. But TPA at the moment, I gotta give them credit here. They're actually playing it very smart. When they do see an opening and know there's not 5 members of TSM, they go for the engage. That's what we saw at the Dragon beforehand, where they trade 1 for 1. And as soon as TSM were grouped up, TPA said, okay, we're not gonna fight you. We're just gonna go, split up the lane, send BB to the top lane. He can pick up more farm, get his Infintage very, very soon, and take a tower as well. So what they do now, just buying time.
And it's interesting that TPA is the team that ends up letting the opponent buy time when they're ahead, but is doing a very good job at buying time for themselves while behind. It's really on TSM to set up the proper siege. They absolutely can. I mean, with the Void Staff being completed on Bjergsen, and even just Kog'Maw being Kog'Maw, setting up a group siege in a lane is absolutely a possibility as long as they can control the side lanes and create some type of individual push up the mid lane. It should be set up 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, but it's good you mentioned the side lanes because TPA has actually managed to push out at least the bottom lane every single time, which was why Wild Turtle was stuck down there as well around the Dragon fight. And once again, it's pushing in. It should hit the tower very soon, reset the whole wave, therefore TSM don't really care about it.
Wave management is pretty tricky when you're ahead sometimes. They push, they push, they push. You just wait longer and longer and longer.
Almost grabbing that one. TSM trying to be a pain in the butt right now as TPA is gathering up their own jungle. The Amazing's 9-3 throughout the season on Lee Sin, one of his mains as well. Wins took that yesterday and was just wreaking havoc on it, but today faltered a little bit early on the Rengar with ganks before 6, and Amazing was really able to capitalize.
They finally set up this 5-man siege that they've been trying to get because the waves are mostly managed.
Yeah, look down this bottom lane. It's gonna push in favor of TSM, so they can stay here now, keep TPA in the mid lane, and once the bottom lane wave pushes all the way up to the tower, then it opens up for TSM to move from the mid lane to the bottom lane, catch the wave here. That's actually also why it wins right now, at least moving down towards the bottom side, or maybe he wants to flank around.
I think he's trying to flank for a Rengar Orianna ultimate. This is actually very good for delaying games. Teams are afraid to push up.
But there's a pink ward here. Look at the pink ward from TSM.
Great pink ward positioning by TSM. If he does try and go in, it would probably backfire. Doesn't mean he's not going to try, though.
It's got to be a thought on their mind. There's one missing from in front of us, and you can see him on the outside, kind of playing a walk and back game to see if he can draw attention. Team Solo Mid, they feel like they know where he is, and they're going to stay safe in the mid lane. Things towards the top. They say BB by himself, so we could possibly keep pushing this.
TSM should just go bottom lane here, push in the mid lane, and start moving down towards this bottom lane. You already have a pink ward, so you know, okay, we're not gonna face check anyone right now, and they've seen both BB in the top lane, they see Morning in the mid lane, they're moving down towards this bottom lane now, they have a big wave being built up, and they can just push it straight to the tower.
It's just about setting up the siege. That's really all TSM is trying to do right here, and they're doing a good job. They finally got wave management. TPA knows this is coming, so they're trying to set up the pick.
There's the Whimsy onto Rengar.
Wind popped his ulti.
That was the ulti as well.
Did not
Very
even land
hesitant.
Didn't even land the ball. It's so hard to engage on this TSM team. They're staying so far back. Plus, if they don't engage perfectly, Lustboy will reset the fight.
Imagine if they ran down that too with Equalizer. That would have been a bad idea.
They did manage, however, to actually buy some time for BB to clear the wave here, so we're not going to see the big minion wave push into the tower, and TSM just have to deal with the next minions arriving here.
Dead.
But they're always going to get so much damage, and TPA at the moment, they're too far behind to actually engage onto TSM, so they just have to give up the towers.
It could be a potential threat of having that AD carry shot caller. He's off pushing another lane. The rest of the team can't set up a play at that point. BB is doing his best to become farm, but he's not at a threatening enough point they can hold yet, and the gold lead is just continuing to grow to Fischio.
Right, and while TPA wants now to go late game because they don't really have a choice, you're falling too far behind. If you look at the comps here, TSM has great late game scaling themselves, so it's not even because TSM have to worry about like a ticking time bomb on the side of TPA. Yes, okay, you do have the Tristana for late game, but that's going to be your main damage source. And on the other side of TSM, you have a hyper carry yourself, and also you have Xerath in the mid lane, so good in late game.
Could this have worked out differently for Jay if obviously TPA got ahead early? Because right now he can't even get close enough to engage.
Yeah, Leona is in a sense one of those champions that's fantastic when you're ahead, but very difficult to play while behind. I mean, they did the lane swap. TSM ended up having that miraculous set of plays in the mid game. And since then, he hasn't really been able to do much.
Yeah, not only Leona needs to be ahead, Rengar himself. I mean, if you want to go for these risky engage, look at the build from Wins here. It's full damage. If he jumps in and the rest of the team is not able to follow, he dies instantly. And his Rengar play, it's not been looking very good this game.
It's been rather lackluster. I mean, but most of that was because of TSM's vision control. There was the one.
Of course.
He ganked a little bit too much early game, for one. Unsuccessfully.
Yes.
And then his ultimates were just burned onto wards. Who expects to have that deep ward that TSM had in the top lane early on in the game?
Not him, for sure.
Definitely
not him,
well,
indeed. It was
he's had
wasted
some
time.
bad luck with
TSM
wards
took
this
hold on.
game as well.
Yeah.
Walking over that pink ward about
It's actually back
5
now.
million times.
Oh, dear.
Round 2, maybe. I don't think so. They're just so far behind at this point, they're having to concede objectives.
Wards 2.0. So again, TSM grabbing the dragon. That's going to be all 3 of the game, and they love that because it puts them in such a position to continue pushing their advantages.
And look at the minimap here. On the side of TPA, we keep talking about how they do place a lot of wards. They don't always seem to place him in the right place. Now they have a lot of wards in their own jungle towards the Baron, which is a great thing because TSM's next move, they don't really need the Baron here. They can keep sieging because they keep taking down these towers here. But their next move could be the Baron, and it simply means you go in and you clear every single ward of the jungle. You place your own and you just spot TPA moving in towards you. Because there's already so many wards placed by TPA, they make sure TSM can't do it, at least not right now.
We'll see what TPA can formulate as they come out. They do get that pink ward clear that was on the blue buff. You see Locket of the Iron Solarion amazing. He actually gets that Sightstone in as well. So the wards to be pushed forward even more for Team Solo Mid. You can see BB finding one right now as they're just trying to stop this snowball that Team Solo Mid has put together. 7,000 gold lead, and they're dropping turrets like flies. Looks like just focus on mid lane now.
TSM has definitely made some critical adjustments since their game yesterday to Starhorn Royal Club. Specifically their early game play against Wins, and right now their controlled play around the Baron Pit will hopefully yield some good results. They're just pushing out Jay to keep ward control. That wasn't the best move there by Amazing Burning Ultimate, but they still are just kind of biding their time and waiting for enough poke to land.
Poking everywhere. BB trying to get a few shots in himself. You can almost see that he's telling the team, I'm farming right now. We're not going to be in these engagements. A lot of hesitation here from TPA. Team Solo Mid is not having any of that. Moving down the mid lane now. Great item spike across the map for everybody on the side of Team Solo Mid. 7-3 as they push this inhibitor turret.
And as soon as TSM realize there's too many wards from TPA in the jungle at the moment, we can't really just set up this Baron bait. Let's just go straight back to siege.
Yeah.
It's going to be harder and harder when you do come close to the base because again you have to get in this choke point where Leona can really shine if she lands a good ulti. So it becomes harder for them. Top lane tower could still be an option, but onto bot lane for now.
Yeah, they're not really doing a classic split push. Instead, they're just in between the mid and the bottom lane turrets, trying to move back and forth across that spot and land poke. I mean, I suppose because Xerath is such ridiculously long range, they're getting a lot down there, but I'm wondering why they don't just go back around the Baron and play that game, because that's where I feel like they find their kills.
See, like they're actually heading towards that side, making sure these wards are clear. Obviously, TPA is going to be on their heels for this one. Lost Boy with the upgraded sweeper, able to make that one count twice. He knows where the wards are efficiently.
So what TSM was doing just before here was actually not really going for the mid tower or the bottom lane tower. They were just waiting for the top lane to push in. It's exactly what we saw happen down here. Dyrus might be in trouble.
Uh-oh, he gets the explosive shot on, but Jay's actually forced to back up. He knows he's squishy as well, and the rest of the team is not ready to engage on this. Morning taking poke. He's already below half. Could it be the ball? Oh, no! They get like one in there. Amazing got hit up. The heal comes out quickly, and they turn this fight right around. Jay finally gets in. The red carpet gets laid out, and they're going to welcome them to the party. Dyrus, he gets untargeted with the Zanyas, but can they continue the fight? There's no minions. They're stepping a little close here, guys. There come the ultimates. One last shot. Achi dodges close, and he dodges the right way.
TSM just can't seem to finish these kills. One part about not having the big initiation and just the poke, they have to close. There's one.
One indeed, chat. Turtle taking a lot of shots here. There's no re-engage you're going to be seeing. Way too low on the health bars from everybody standing in front of Team Solo Mid. A very chaotic fight to come out with just that turret.
But it doesn't even matter for TSM if they can actually get the kills. It's all about the towers for them. They stayed there with 4 members. Amazing was already dead. It doesn't even matter because Bjergsen has still so much poke.
Yeah.
We saw Lost Boy was still there, and of course Wild Turtle just to take down the tower and BP.
Really random thing that just happened. Morning accidentally used his Zhonya's in base. Maybe while it was trying to use another item, but it will be down for the next fight if TSM can force quickly. They don't know that, so they won't be able to use it to their advantage, but we will have to watch for it.
We keep seeing all these wards from TPA in their own jungle around this Baron here. They don't want to risk TSM being able to take full control of the jungle, so they're doing a very, very good job with all the defensive wards. They can also just move them a bit further, actually to the river part, and they can potentially try and go for pick onto TSM, because what normally happens in a situation like this is actually the enemy support. So let's say Lost Boy at this point of the game would walk in, try and place a few wards. We actually see him do it right now. If you had a few deeper wards and you were standing ready, you could catch him out of position.
I'm glad you brought that up, Fischio, because that is what Lost Boy brought to Team Solo Mid. That warding game that has put them on top so much. And look at everybody. Peace of mind to have a pink ward right now to replace if they get taken down as they are. And TPA is only finding these after they've been placed for 5-10 minutes.
And this stall by TPA is actually getting closer and closer to paying off. At the moment, we look across TSM, you see very little magic resistance. If Morning can actually complete his death cap, the threat of a Wins Rengar jumping in to an Orianna ult is a complete game and fight changer. Can pick off 1 or 2 targets if they can complete that quickly and find the right fight.
Right, and we saw it in the last team fight. They went in, they got a kill onto Amazing, and TSM is all about disengaging at first, and then you just keep poking, and eventually you should out-sustain TPA and can then take objectives or pick up the kills.
Plays to be made with double Zhonya's on the board now for Team Solo Mid. They may not be too afraid to get themselves into a fight here, but they don't want to give too much away to TPA. Both of these teams seeming to have a trouble to close this one out. TPA from behind, still strong. Looking at a 10,000 gold lead as they take the Dragon, and they're going to walk right back in and ward the crap out of this jungle.
And we just saw the focus once again on TPA's wards. All of them are placed on their own side of the map. Not a single one in the middle of the river here. So they're not going to try and catch TSM out of position. They're simply just going to sit back and keep farming.
That's the only thing they really have as an option right now. It'll depend how nimble BB is on his feet right here versus Bjergsen's poke, because if he gets taken too low, these turrets will become indefensible.
Bjergsen firing everything he has from the outside with the blue buff right now, really commanding the game well. Him an Amazing shot calling through the mid and late game. Waiting for the minions to push up. They have the mid wave at the turret. That's going to call BB over. They're really just waiting for this fight on the other side of the wall. Got to be careful, because that is a perfect spot to get jumped on as well in a tight fight.
We didn't really talk about support items yet, but Lost Boy with the Mikhails here is basically the hard counter to Leona, and it's such a good pickup because it means whoever Jace tries to engage on, instant Mikhails, the target can now flash away or just move away, and suddenly the main engage for TPA, if you ignore the Ringer here, which can be knocked back by Lost Boys and his ulti, is gone.
One of the big reasons we've seen the low kill score is just because TSM has built that siege type team, and because in picks and bans, TPA was building towards that to the very last second. So even though they have the Leona, it's not exactly like they have a good siege breaking team. They're going to try right here. The Wins in a pink ward. That
they throw out the Howling Gale. He gets shut down immediately. Last time he's going to be doing that. Nice shots coming in. Wild Turtle almost able to finish that off with the ults as well from Bjergsen, and they stand on the front step ready to pepper that inhibitor turret.
And notice the ping ward here. It's actually just outside the screen right now, but it's where Lost Boy is placed. There was a ping ward, so they actually saw Win started. We're just going to see it right on the Lost Boy here. So they saw him, knocked him up, and instantly just killed him.
Very surprised that Achi didn't even use his Lulu ultimate right there, but as you can see, it is now indefensible. That's exactly what TSM needs. Good vision control. That's been Win's arch nemesis this game, has been those wards, and it takes him down yet again. Costs TPA an inhibitor. Diego's low as well.
How long would they have been standing there if Wins did not push himself into that fight? They had a good thing going, and finally TSM grab a little bit more off quite a long push here. Now from about 28 minutes to 35.5, they finally take down an inhibitor on the side of TPA. They have a little bit to think about now. It's a great one for TSM to have with super minions pouring in. Yeah, there's a teleport on Achi, but that's a fight for Baron that TSM can start in their favor.
They do still have the same 2 defensive ping wards from TSM here, which TPA can now actually go in and play. So finally, they actually move into the river here, play some of their own wards, and now they realize our base is open, there's gonna be super minions spawning in, and we can't just sit back and defend any longer. Now we need to move out and we have to get a pick.
And it's because TPA is absolutely against the clock. Achi can push right there now. As soon as TSM makes a move, they can force the teleport, and then it'll be maybe 30 or 45 seconds every time they go for that one. TSM definitely in position to force. It's going to be about pink wards. Luckily for TPA, TSM doesn't have the greatest of initiations, so it's still going to take some creativeness by TSM to make that happen.
And just look at the items. You just mentioned the pink wards. 4 pink wards picked up once again. Ready to place them around this Baron here so they can spot the engage from Winds.
It definitely feels like TSM is picking up and moving their pink wards very frequently by picking up new ones. Mainly because Winds has that threat. TSM knows that the only way they lose this game is if Winds gets a nice jump from stealth to set up an Orianna ultimate. But if they're warding like they are now, there's no risk of losing.
And it's so weird to look at a comp like TPA's where they have a Rengar, where they have a Leona, and yet we're standing here talking about how they can't really engage the fights because TSM is so good at warding, and because Lost Boy is ready with the Hurricane and his ulti.
Pays off. It's something that they got right through the beginning of the year, and they used it perfectly.
Perfect timing for TSM. They see where the wave is. They know Achi's going to take a while to clear that one. If he teleported now, they'd lose inhibitor turrets, so there's actually nothing TPA can do here.
Baron going over to Team Solo Mid. This may be what they need to finalize the game. TPA is going to be forced into the base.
And they still lost the Nexus
my
turret.
gosh,
That's
goes
how
down
big that wave was.
with Achi trying to protect it.
Yeah, 4 members from TPA was just running between the base, then ran a bit to Baron, and then actually ran back to the base. They didn't really know what to do. In the end, you get Nexus turret, you get the Baron buff, and notice how TSM instantly, they move back, take their own buffs, while Dyrus has already been setting up the top wave.
Wave mismanagement definitely there, I would say, by Achi. Not the best job by Lulu, but it sucks for him. He's been behind it levels the whole game. In that mid-game fight where he flashed to interrupt the teleport from Dyrus, he just put him farther and farther behind. He's actually 3,500 gold down against Dyrus and is nowhere near the items he wants to be at on Lulu right now. Not even a death cap.
BB just recalled from his bottom lane. TSM might be able to get a bit of damage on the tower. He will join in. Notice Jay here on your minimap. He's already flanking around. They want to go
now.
They want
another pink ward.
Jay gonna be looking for a solar flare. It locks down Dyrus, but he's already got the equalizer damage out. Zanya's across the board. You're looking good, gentlemen. They go for the inhibitor turret now. It's 11-4, and TSM's gonna be looking to get a lot more kills as they pressure down on the Nexus turret.
Just no good initiation paths for TPA. TSM knew where they want to go, knew how they want to go about it, and they just lit up the paths towards it to counter the fights. Great moves by TSM strategically.
Yeah, this game is just the best example of how warding will save your life. Because every single time TSM group up and start sieging, there's wards everywhere around them here. Moving on, mid lane. Actually no, let's just go straight for bottom lane here, because you have super minions spawning.
Already coming in, Dyrus is going to hang out in the mid lane and at least get more pushed if TSM finds some trouble here.
Oh, Dyrus actually gets caught, I believe.
Yep, they're quite deep in. It's going to be Lust Boy trying to come to his help. That regen from Baron is really allowing them to just stay on the front steps of TPA, doing what they can themselves, getting suffocated out this game. We'll see TSM. Looks like they're going to back off for now. They know when they've overstayed. They're welcome.
And in a game like this, I would actually have loved to see full tank Rengar from Winds, because he's going to be like the guy jumping in every single time. He went for Brutalizer, went for Fatal Flare. What we see in Korea normally from like Dandy, who's considered probably the best Rengar in the world, is he will actually just keep the Madrits, and then he's just going to get cooldown reduction and just full tank.
Right.
And even sell the Madrits later. You don't upgrade it to Fatal Flare. Winds decided to go a bit of a mix. I want some damage in the start. Okay, I didn't actually manage to snowball, so now I'm going to build some tank, but it's too late.
Stay in the jungle.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it was the fact that he didn't snowball is one of the biggest things that stopped him from getting here. A damaged Rengar against a Kog'Maw team is not flawed by any matter. You do need to be able to kill him quickly, but when you fall behind, it just makes it look pretty bad.
TSM looking to dodge another one on this. Pink Ward possibly going down. They do get the shockwave. Lust Boy disengages the fight. The equalizer not hitting much. There is hardly any follow-up though from TPA. It's going to be a wait on the ultimate. The Sonic Wave hits, and he takes it all the way in. Amazing. Pushing back BB and Morning, and it's going to be the last inhibitor turret for Team Solo Mid if they want it.
I mean, finally TPA actually got a decent shockwave, but it was when they had a 15,000 gold disadvantage. This will be the game.
It looks like it is a 40-minute matchup between Team Solo Mid and TPA. They will go 2-1 on the group. A lot of people wondered what would happen in this match, and it's Team Solo Mid coming out with the victory.
By far the most controlled game that TSM has played so far here at Worlds. They had powerful ward control, they played it safe, and Wild Turtle was rather tame yet effective in this one, and that was a big worry coming in.
Every single lane from TSM here in the early game. We had that 1 minute point where suddenly the Dragon went in favor of TSM. They got a kill in top lane, they got a kill in mid lane, and they got a kill in bottom lane here. So every single lane did a very good job. And this game was simply won by warding. Like, it was all about the wards. We keep talking about it, but there was no engage options from TPA because of so many wards being placed by TSM.
And it was definitely once they were able to pull ahead. I mean, it's something that's been true for TSM for so long. During the regular season, it was about their ability to beat the teams that were worse than them. One of the reasons they were so consistent in beating teams that were worse than them is because when they get small advantages, they know exactly how to close. Now that they've improved and gotten better strategically, they can get leads on better and better teams, and they still know how to close. They have that same strategic ability, and it definitely showed in this game.
And a really great play across the board. We kind of question if Team Solo Mid could hold what they came out of the NALCS Summer Split Championship title with. Could Dyrus still put the pressure on? Got a solo kill in his lane. Could Amazing still put pressure on? Get some Lee Sin kicks in, and if he's not on Lee Sin, still create pressure. This time he was on Lee Sin, and it worked out nicely, but the rest of the team stepped up as well, because bot lane was a liability, a lot of people thought, for Team Solo Mid, and it came to the show today.
They managed to get some kills, and I still want to look at the pick and ban phase, because we talked about how Nidalee was banned by TSM, Zillion was banned by TSM on the blue side. Might still be a problem, but the way they actually drafted their champions this time around, it really paid off. The Janna pick, we talked about how risky it was to lock it in when you're potentially against a protect AD carry comp, but because then TPA changed up their style and went for this engage comp instead, suddenly the Janna pick was just MVP.
Yeah, very interesting pick and ban phase that ended up happening. Finally, Lustboy moved away from Nami. He'd played it all 3 games previously at Worlds. It seemed like it was his only champion. No one took it away from him because his effectiveness was a little bit mixed on it. Definitely showing some versatility here is much needed for TSM as they move forward.
Dyrus back on Rumble as well, so what else does he have in his pocket? They, like we said, they're going to have to ban that Nidalee, so things are going to have to open up for the team in versatility, and that worked for them.
The Rumble was a really nice surprise, especially for TSM fans. Dyrus is a type of person who, since he's been in the scene for so long, has been able to pick up and learn everything, but it takes him a long time to learn these things. His early effectiveness on Rumble is really promising for their future.
Yeah, it looks good, and it simply means also now, going into like the next few games, will teams consider the fact there could be a potential Rumble pick? Could it be a ban? I mean, the thing about Rumble is he's so annoying to play against because of his ulti. It can destroy every single team fight. If you go too aggressive, like if your backline, if your AD carry suddenly just steps a little bit too far forward, suddenly gets Rumble in the face and he just dies instantly. So Rumble is so hard to play against in these team fights, and the fact that we just saw TSM play with it perfectly in these fights really means for the future you have to worry.
This is why I love Worlds, because you slowly see things resurface. The Janna's coming back a little bit more. There was already a Rumble yesterday. We got another Rumble here. I'm sure we're going to see more because these objective fights are becoming huge. Rumble loves to control those. If you see any death-defying escapes or jaw-dropping ganks that impress you, share them with us at LOL Esports and use the hashtag WorldsBigPlays. Right now we're going to send it over to the stage where Shox is on the blue side.
Thank you very much. I'm here with Amazing after that victory. First off, congratulations, good stuff. When I talked to Dyrus earlier, he admitted that you guys hadn't done your homework that much yesterday. How was it reflected in picks and bans that you guys have caught up now?
I mean, yesterday we rather tried to pick away something that they're strong on and really didn't follow our game plans. So even though we kind of did our homework, we didn't really show it off. So today we differentiated from it and really tried to get what's strong and what's working for us and what has been working for us in the past, and we followed through with it.
Yeah, absolutely, and it came to show 12 minutes, 50 seconds in, I think, an ace. Tell me how you went from there, and of course, you can't be too overconfident in that moment. I
mean, when you see the ace sign at 12 minutes, you're like, what the hell is happening? And well, from there, we just got to stay controlled. I kind of went away from that, suicided more or less on top side. But overall, from there on, you just want to be controlled, try to snowball the game, and really be methodical about everything.
Yeah, absolutely methodical play coming out of you guys and then finishing it off. You, very strong performance on Lee Sin. I feel like yesterday you couldn't really put your mark on the game. How come you're able to do it and contain a rising jungler here like Wins?
I mean, yesterday was completely different too, due to our picks and how we approach lane phase. So Insec, who's a great jungler, obviously had a really strong impact, and I basically let him farm to level 6. And this game it's different. It was different, where I had the impact pre-6, didn't let Rengar farm for free, and punished his lanes, whereas he was just like trying to get the level 6 and try to have impact due to that.
It seems like you're picking up much as you go and play here on the world stage. I listened to your vlog where you said, well, the synergy between mid lane and jungle in Korean players especially is so crazy. Is there anything else that you've discovered here by playing on stage versus these teams?
I mean, what I discovered is that none of these teams is really afraid to show off what they can do. And they bring the aggression, they bring whatever they have on the stage. And sometimes in SCS you see people being frightened, maybe have the stage fright, but here in World Stage everyone is experienced and everyone knows what to do, and they showed well.
Finally, give me the lowdown on the group. Do you think SK will be able to rack up those wins to go through possibly, or will it be a toss-up between you guys and TPA and who will get it?
SK has shown like great promise today, even though they're still playing with sub jungler. So I expect them to at least like go with like 1 or 2 wins, obviously not versus us, but like they will still get some wins. But overall, I don't think they will be able to make it because it's just too far behind right now. So it's basically a toss-up between us, TPA, and SHRC, and we'll just see who comes through that.
All right, well, good luck. Fantastic game here. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now let's go back over to the guys at the desk to break things down.
Thank you very much. And a pretty solid game, I think, from Team Solo Mid. I want to go back to picks and bans. First of all, wins on Rengar. Definitely not Insec. It was closer to Crumb's level of performance, not Insec level.
Wow.
The game played out a 4v0 meta almost. I want to go early game and throw it straight over to Crepo because we saw those lane swaps, and I know you guys were discussing it backstage.
Yeah, basically what ended up happening is they late picked Leona, and then somehow they were afraid to play it into the Janna Kog'Maw, so they swapped away from it. And that kind of led to something really interesting, especially with how the minion management come. We have a replay coming up. I don't know if it's now or later.
Give it a few points, because I think Monty's also a bit confused about that early game and the lane swaps.
Yeah, it was some pretty sloppy play on the map too, and we had a kind of weird pseudo skirmish in the mid lane. After which, because Leona was already down in the bottom side, I feel there perhaps was an opportunity to go ahead and use TP for Lulu to get into the bottom lane.
Both teams could have used TP.
Yeah, it was
wave on tower.
Yeah, it was actually pretty poorly played from both sides. There wasn't a whole lot to like.
Lack of understanding, misplay. Like, where does it come from? I mean, if mistakes were made on both sides, was it a circumstance of events, champions?
I feel it was over caution. I think that it was a nerve issue because both of these teams should know how to do this at this point.
It generally stems from not seeing enough people on the map, and then in scrims you'll take that risk and all, but on the world stage you don't want to be that guy that TP's back to lane and just gets caught by people.
Well, I disagree. Everybody was in the mid lane like instantly before that happened, so we had a pretty good idea of where everybody was.
But here's the issue, is when a lane is slow pushing and you teleport to it, you signal, guys, 4v0 dive me, where a jungler's off the map, the other top laner can TP in to join, and again, you've got a Leona down there, right, who's ready to dive someone like Rumble, who has very poor escape tools.
Dyrus could have definitely, by the time, nobody could have been even close to Dyrus,
So
but yeah. Whatever.
That actually leads us to the replay. You were talking about a slow push lane, 4v0. You were very excited about one particular lane management.
Moderately excited.
So let's show the replay where it's meant to be shown.
Yeah, okay, so basically what's happening right now, so if we roll the clip right now, you're going to see what happens in the standard, like, 2v1. Basically, someone's going to walk out of the brush, get those melee minions, I go on the same target, then walk back into the brush, and that will allow those melee minions to take one target down. So that's the standard freeze, right? If we keep going, we're going to see that. But I don't want to be mocking Jay here, but he's going to do something but I don't really think is too smart. He wants that relic stack, and that sweet 20 gold he got there actually screwed up the freeze. If you run it really slow, you'll notice how there's one range creep barely on enough HP to get like 5 extra auto attacks, and that will actually break the freeze, and it'll slowly push away. In return, what's going to happen is TPA is going to realize it's like, yeah, guys, we can't leave our AD carrier alone because if we free up the support, somebody's just going to walk up and take all that XP. So they hover around top lane, having a 4v0 dive ready. TSM spots the fast push on top lane and actually reacts immediately by just pushing in the wave even quicker. I think BB, once he noticed that this wave is pushing, just instant shove it into the tower so he can free up his support. But people are just, we can take the replay down by now. People are just hovering on that lane way too long, and it just, I just wanted to highlight how this one attack, this one minion that you take down 2 auto attacks from creeps too early can ruin an entire freeze.
The hunger for the gold.
Yeah, and the other thing about that, too, is this is how we used to play lane swaps back in the 4v0 meta, and so the correct response here is if you are going to stack a minion wave like that, you have to figure out a way to zone the enemy top laner off the turret. So in a way, this could have actually been quite surprising by reverting kind of to a previous lane swap meta, but I just don't think they thought enough about that.